Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. This week we're going to talk about the 1988 horror film known as Maniac Cop, where two of Hollywood's greatest chins face off in a deadly battle of cat and mouse. Now, for those of you who are not aware of this movie, which I gotta say, I did not know that Bruce Campbell was in this. I didn't have any expectations or high hopes for this film. For those who are familiar with my channel, you know that I am not a fan of slasher films. When I saw the title credits coming up and it showed that Bruce Campbell was in it, then I was like, oh, this might actually have some merit to it. I may enjoy it. I put too much stock in that. But I mentioned that this was the battle of Hollywood's two greatest chins. This is Robert Zadar. I'm trying to think what you would know him from. Samurai Cop. I think he's in Samurai Cop. He seems like he should be a Bond villain. I don't know. But this dude's chin is insane. But as I was watching this movie, I was like, you know what? Bruce Campbell is no slacker when it comes to the chin category. That bro's got himself a nice chin. Now, here's the thing. I got nothing. I got no jawline. I just got this fat. So I'm not pooing on these guys. Like, if I had just 1/16 of this guy's jaw, I'd look 100% better than I do now. And he would, if you took 1/16 of this man's jaw away, you wouldn't even know. Let's get into this trailer. This is the first time I've watched this trailer. I will be pausing and making comments potentially just in hopes to avoid copyright claims.
There's someone out there. No one knows his name. No one knows his face.
Oh, no.
But now, the most terrifying man in the city
Oh, thank God it's you.
carries a badge.
The head was unstable and there was a deceleration injury. As in your old hanging.
This guy, not this guy.
You really think a cop did this? Why not?
This dude right here. When I started watching the movie, I was like, wait, I recognize him from something. And I had to look it up, but I recognized him from Halloween 3. What's that called? Season of the Witch. As I mentioned, I don't like slashers. So I had never watched Halloween. But I knew from information or so on, let's just call it lore, I knew that Halloween 3 did not follow the storyline of Michael Myers. So I was interested in checking that out. So I watched it, and this guy is in it. This guy. Now, what was really silly or funny to me is he like teams up with this woman, almost girl, who's clearly like 20 years younger than him. And there's some kind of, correct me if it's wrong, because I only watched Season of the Witch, Halloween 3, once. And it was a couple years ago. But I'm pretty positive there was some kind of a romantic or sexual thing going on between this dude and this chick that was clearly like 20 years younger than him. It was insane. Now, I did, for the first time, watch the original Halloween last October of 2024, which we'll get into that later. Oh, but anyway, this guy, I found it so funny because when I first started thinking, oh, I recognize him, there's this scene where he meets up with this reporter, much younger than him. Again, we're talking 20 or more years younger than him. She comes in to meet him, and he's a detective, and it's not, unheard of for potentially a police officer to be meeting with a reporter because she wants to get information. But she comes in and her lines are kind of like, I didn't think I'd ever hear from you again. And it's very flirtatious. And he even makes a comment like, yeah, sorry, this isn't a romantic call. And I'm like, what is it with this guy? I've seen him in 2 movies, maybe more, but I can't remember of them. But both movies, This dude is majorly scoring with chicks way below his age range. I mean, it was insane. It made me giggle. It also gave me some kind of weird, like, maybe there's hope for maybe I can still get an attractive young woman. I don't believe it. But anyway, I found that really odd that was the two movies I know this guy from. In both of them, this dude is like raking it in with the young women.
You automatically assume that it was a police officer instead of some lunatic dressed up like a cop.
Vice Squad.
This woman right here, where she said Vice Squad, the sad thing is her makeup on duty was not so far from her makeup off duty. She looked like a hooker no matter what, which I guess, plays in well with her being an undercover vice agent. But I found that kind of funny when they showed her in her street clothes and not undercover. I was like, wow, you just look like a hooker, but you got like sweatpants on this time. Anyway.
He'll kill again. He enjoys killing.
He strikes without cause, without mercy.
You may be getting information from inside the department.
That means he is one of us.
You see a cop, you cross to the other side of the street.
You're not gonna get me.
Everybody who wants to shoot a cop nowadays got one hell of an excuse.
This one is my...
That door, there's that chin. There's that beautiful, wonderful chin. That door just a second ago was so funny. It was like the thinnest thing ever. It is what it is.
My personal life, any of your business.
Since your wife was found dead in a motel room,
You gotta be wrong.
you want to see the pretty picture.
I was bummed this guy died.
Keep it in so I can see it. Hold on, I didn't do any of this.
When a cop turns killer, you have the right to remain silent forever.
Oh, that's golden. You have the right to remain silent forever. I like that. That might be the highlight of this movie for me. Oh, that was ingenious.
Maniac Cop.
Holy crap. They literally, oh my gosh, guys, they literally gave you the whole movie. They even gave you the very ending of the movie in that trailer. That was insane. That was the whole movie condensed down into like a minute and 50 seconds. Man, and it didn't miss any of the major plot points either. That's crazy. That was crazy. Now, from what I read, Bruce Campbell said that he took this job because he needed the money. We've all been there. Gosh, I stayed at a job for 12 years because I needed the money. It was the worst job I've ever had in my life. Oh, thank God. One of my good friends saw the plight of my life and he gave me this job here where I now get paid to watch horror movies, review them, and to play silly games and post those online. If you would, check out my other channel called On Company Time. That's where me and my coworkers get together once a week and we compete in silly games for an extra $500 on our paycheck. Okay, back to this movie. So I don't have a lot to say. This is going to be a very short review. And again, my apologies to all of you who love the subgenre of slasher. It's just not my cup of tea. So do not think that somehow, I mean, if you have not seen this movie and you're a slasher fan, maybe check out somebody else's review as well to get some kind of a potentially tempered, view on this movie. For me, it was very, from the slashers that I have viewed, because I have viewed slashers despite not liking them. I mentioned that just last October, I watched the original Halloween, which I came away from being surprised, but also extremely bored. I had a lot of nitpicks about the movie. And I could potentially have a lot regarding this movie. But for me, it felt like such a ripoff of Michael Myers. The tropes were just like stacked on top of each other. There was nothing original about this movie, in my particular opinion. It was just a carbon copy of the original Halloween. And that I know that's a little strong saying that, but it just, again, those tropes, the same tropes over and over. But in the original Halloween, there was really no explanation of, like, there was just this kid that freaked out. Let's lock him up forever. Somehow he gets out and knows how to drive a car. You know, he's strong enough to like lift tombstones and grown men off the ground. None of it made sense. This one, they at least give some kind of a little backstory about this cop and being wronged, and then him going into prison. All spoilers, by the way. And then him getting shanked in prison and them thinking he's dead, but it turned out he was still barely alive, and the coroner stitched him up and secretly handed him off to his girlfriend, where he thought for certain that he was brain dead and would live a life of a vegetable. He'd carry out the rest of his days as a vegetable. But no, somehow, then this is where things get very in the gray area, just like with Halloween. How is it that this guy can take 7 bullets to the chest, 2 bullets to the face, and survive? What? How? And then at the very end, you saw where that paddy wagon drove through that pole and fell into the bay. Well, that pole went right through the chest of the Maniac cop. Like right through. It impaled him right in the middle of his freaking chest. Okay, and he's down in the water for several hours. But somehow, just like with Michael Myers, somehow he survives. Now, I have heard that in regards to Mike Myers that there has been some confirmation that he is supernatural, that he just embodies evil. He is the representation, embodiment of evil, and it's supposed to be like you can't stop evil. There's always going to be evil in the world. That's what I've heard. Fans of Halloween, please, leave a comment. Let me know if I've heard correct. So within that sense, even though I'm not a fan of Halloween, and I had a lot of nitpicks of that first movie, and I watched Season of the Witch, but I won't watch any more of the Halloween movies because it's just not for me. That if you're going to go with that storyline, that it's just the embodiment of evil and you can't destroy it, then I can give it a pass as far as why Mike Myers can't be killed. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense within that world, and I can deal with that, and I can accept it. This is just like, this Maniac cop is not an undead that we know of. They clearly said that he was just still alive, and they stitched him up, and he was supposedly brain dead. There's no other answer or explanation to that. So how is it that he survived being shot 7 times, 2 in the head, having a pole like this size go fully through his chest and be drowned, and somehow he's still alive? And that doesn't make any sense. I have not watched. This is the other thing. This movie had a budget of $1.1 million. It was did I mention it was made in 1988? It was in 50 cinemas. Apparently, from what I read, it was kind of like only shown late night. So you can imagine it didn't have a lot of viewings, and it only made back a little over $600,000. So it didn't even make back what was put into the movie. But then within the movie rental VHS type thing, I guess it made back its money. It's become quite popular. A lot of people love this movie. When I was on IMDb and I was looking through the reviews of people, man, there was a lot. There was a lot of 7 out of 10s. And to me, that is a very good score. If somebody told me a movie was a 7 out of 10, to me, I'm like, oh, that's like a must-watch movie. That's a really good movie. I do not see this as a 7 out of 10, but I was surprised at how many pages of 7 out of 10s there were. Now, I expected to see a lot lower, and there was only a few people who landed with my particular viewpoint on this movie. However, if you give me just a second, this is what Wiki says about the reception. Rotten Tomatoes reports that 53% of 15 surveyed critics gave this film a positive review. That's not fantastic. The average rating was 5 out of 10. That's also a little higher than I would give it. I'm going to land at 4 out of 10 on this film. The film was mostly panned by critics at the time of its release. Variety called it a disappointing thriller that wastes an oddball premise. New York Times called it an amateurish film with stiff acting and dialogue. Los Angeles Times wrote that the film quickly becomes uninteresting. Friday the 13th clone. I haven't seen Friday the 13th, so I didn't have that as a basis. It may lean closer to Friday the 13th versus Halloween, but be it that Halloween is my only point of reference, that's why I'm saying I felt like it was a clone of Halloween. Time Out London criticized the film as formulaic and said that it might have been better had writer producer Cohen directed it himself. Washington Post called the script undernourished and obvious. So that's how it was received when it first came out. Not fantastic in any way. And that's really where I kind of lean. It felt formulaic. It felt tropey. It just was like, let's hit these beats. You know, we got this guy who wants revenge. He comes back. You can't stop him no matter what you do. That's how it goes. It was quite boring to me. It did. And again, my apologies to you Halloween fans out there. I just found Halloween to be extremely boring. I was not engaged in that whatsoever. Now, this movie, again, I still found no entertainment value in it, but I did feel that it gave me a little more to go on with you got this cop, he was done dirty, he got thrown to prison, you got all these inmates that remember him and they want to kill him, okay? Then he's stitched up, sent off to go live a vegetable life, but he heals, and now he wants to come back for revenge on those who sent him to prison, who used him as a scapegoat to cover their own crimes. That makes sense to me versus we just have this 6-year-old who suddenly flips out because his sister's having sex and he kills her. That just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So when we come down to it, I did not find this entertaining. I cannot recommend it. I do, however, want to hear comments from my friends out there who are slasher fans. I would like to hear from those of you who potentially find Maniac Cop to be a fantastic nostalgia watch for you. Please leave your comments. Give me your reasons why this is a fantastic movie and why people should watch it versus why I, the slasher hater, would say to skip it. And I guess if I was going to say, again, versus the fact that I don't like slashers, I know that Halloween is like this considered a classic and set the bar for a lot of slashers. So for me, I would almost say that if you were going to watch a movie, if you were going to dip your toe into slasher for the first time, even though I found Maniac Cop a little more engaging with the storyline, I would say, respect has to be given to where things began, and a lot of people attribute that to Halloween. I would say to you, if this is going to be your first step, hold off on Maniac Cop. Go watch the original Halloween first, just so you can see where some of these tropes originated from, and then go and watch Maniac Cop. That would be that would just be what I would suggest. Thanks for watching. I'm Judah. This has been Creepin' It Real. Please like, subscribe, and share. And again, I'd love to hear from you. I want to know why, if you love this movie, I want to hear why you love it. If you agree with me and you felt that it was just a massive trope, let's share our common bond there. And remember, don't take these reviews too serious. I'm just a Midwestern guy telling you what I felt about this movie. Who cares? If you love it, fantastic. You know what I mean? That's your thing, and I'm glad. If you do feel you need to give me a thumbs down, I support you fully in that, but I would ask that you leave a comment letting me know why. Thanks again. See you later.